Hey everyone, welcome to another Action Line Studios tutorial video. My name is Matt Campbell and today I want to share my process for coloring a kilt in Photoshop using layers. So you can see here I've already flatted this character and I've made a layer mask, or I'm currently have made a layer mask for a selection of the kilt that I'm doing. You can see I'm doing it right there. The next thing I'm doing is painting in the vertical lines with a different color. You can see that I'm trying to follow the contours of the kilt. It's very important. The next step is to follow the horizontal lines of the kilt on a new layer. And you do this on a new layer so that you can overlap, and especially when you're going to get in a close-up shot, you'll see one color of stripe laying over a second color will really give it that darker feel like kilts and plaid tend to get. But the other thing that's important to really push the realism factor is to try and follow the contours of the folds that you've drawn. So it's really dependent on how well you've studied folds and the folds in your drawing. But by putting the two directions on different layers, you can control opacity and really get a more realistic effect. Now the next thing that is important for Magnus's kilt is to create this third layer, which I call the black line layer, the dark line layer. And this is really going to help those colors pop off the kilt. Because right now they're already pretty dark, but they're going to appear to pop a little bit when you put them next to a very dark black line. So now I go in and pretty much replicate the same process on a new layer, but this time I'm using black lines and I'm trying to draw on the outside edges of the green lines that I've already made, just to add one more layer of dimension. And you can see that it's really starting already to make that kilt pop and look more like a kilt. The next thing I'll do is turn that opacity down a little bit and begin to adjust all those different layer opacities to where it feels and looks right. Now I want to begin to be able to do highlights and shadows now that I've done this kilt pattern, but in case I need to go do something specific, the first thing I'll do is save the selection of both kilts, or both the kilts in the scene, as their own selection mask, as you saw I did there. Now I can begin the process of going in and doing highlights. In this particular case, I'm using the burn tool. I'm starting in with some basic shadowing in between the valleys of the kilt and underneath where the coat is overhanging and is casting a shadow. But you'll see I have the stripe layer off. This is just like an underlayer. And then eventually, the next thing I'm going to want to do is take those stripes and flatten them down to the base color layer. Once I feel like I've gotten the shadows kind of worked in, I'm going to take that now and merge it down. Now I can begin again with painting in, it looks like, some pieces that I missed there, I see. But at this layer I can also go in and start to do some highlights and some shadows on that particular layer right over the stripes. Really help to push the believability of it. And you can see the depth is really starting to pop. And by the way, this is based on the Black Watch kilt design, which is not perfect, but it's very close. And so since I have a warm highlight here, I'm starting to use paint in some warm tone on the highlights from the direction over the top of the kilt and everything. Really starting to give it that believable feel. All right, well, that's pretty much the process. It's not too difficult, but essentially, to wrap up, it's just making one layer going horizontally, one layer going vertically, overlaying those, and you can do that as many times as you want depending on how complex you want the kilt to be. And then dropping it all down and beginning to do highlights and shadows over the top of that. But just be sure to save your selection on the kilt, and you can even duplicate the stripe layer as well if you want to add more details into it. All right, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it.